So,
Hello.
What's up?
okay. Did you start making the pasta?
Matter of fact, yeah, crack the noodles in there, please. The water's on.
Hello. Hello.
We can hear you.
All right. So, yeah, I have to restart it and then start it and do the whatever to get everybody on there. Anyway, all right, we good. My fault. I apologize. I know we don't have this. I just got here late. Okay, so we good. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. All right. Sorry about that. I apologize, my brother.
Yes, sir. You good.
So if you just now tuning in, man, welcome to the full 180. I know sometimes they ain't always. It's technology, baby. It's just technology. That's all it is. I can't explain it. However, we're gonna bypass all the church announcements. I do apologize for Ms. KC because I want to get into this. What I want to get into is childbirth, the glory and the actual pain. So let me give you a brief synopsis where this came from today. Once again, welcome if this is your first time joining us to the full 180 Convo. Like I said, I do apologize for technical difficulty, but I did get it back up. If you don't know who's here, I am DJ TRKKY, the Bomb Radio. Of course, we got Dr. B, Lucky Roy, none other than the first lady herself, God is dope, KC Estelle, and my brother all the way from Kansas City. Say it again, or say it with this. I was told to say it better today. It's Kansas City Mo. Is that right, KC?
It's KC Mo.
KC Mo. KC Mo. None other than Mr. Anthony Moss, the senior pastor. And please tell us what the name of your church is, brother.
It's called Apple of His Eye Ministry. Apple of His Eye Ministry here in KCMO, and we operate outside of the Believers Lounge.
Yes, sir. Look, and the Believers Lounge is really dope. We'll be there to do a whole lot coming soon.
Yes, sir.
So let's get into this. So I'm gonna put a picture up here later, but let me explain this. So we're talking about childbirth. There is a picture that I will put up here in just a second that I had the team look at. It is if you've ever been to India, it is the Yakashi. It is the actual lady of goddess, statue of goddess, if I'm saying that right. Mm-hmm. And when you actually look at this picture, I'm looking for it. I'll get it on there in just a second. So when you actually look at the picture, it looks like she is actually bearing birth, or she's going through birth. So when I looked at it, I sent it to the fam and was like, "Hey, what do y'all see?" So what I told them, what this has me thinking about, or basically it was a depiction of a woman giving birth, right? So this is what I explained to them. I like the picture because it shows a moment of giving birth, providing life. This is a mother, Mother Earth showing her work in a most beautiful way. On the other side, it possesses and she is in pain from birth and showing difficulties that life will bring or obstacles you may go through when you come into the world. So, and I went further into this with them. I also advised them that this made me think and make a depiction, or me seeing a depiction that pain of this presumably projects on the child which can cause maybe a mental health, a physical element, etc. Which alludes, in my mind, it alluded to the scripture that a man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. I want you to pinpoint that scripture. We got some others to go along with it. So this is the reason why I brought this to the forefront. I wanted to discuss childbirth because men tendency or stereotypically say, man, pregnancy ain't nothing. Y'all ain't going through nothing. We go through something. I've said it myself, so I'm not going to make the disclaimer and put me out of it. But the point I'm making is, so let's start with this from a woman's point of view, and then I want to go into this. Now, let me make this, I know I'm talking too much. Let me make this declaration. These are perspectives. This is our opinion. This is not the only one I'm going to say they can be licensed here to talk about the Bible is Mr. Moss, because he is, he can speak to that. He has degrees to speak to that. So this is not you post, man, they don't know what they talking about, they church. That ain't the point. That ain't the point. But the point is, I want to talk about from the ladies' point of view. Describe to us men childbirth.
It hurts.
Oh Lord. Can we go a little deeper than that? I mean,
All right.
yeah.
I mean, it's pain that does come along with it. Is it a beautiful process? Absolutely, it is. But depending on the woman, But yeah. it is painful. It's beautiful. It's long. I mean, it could be a plethora of words used to describe childbirth. But the one I think that may stick in most women's minds that they will not forget is that it was painful.
Yeah.
That's why
when I used to describe it to my kids, because I have 3, so my kids are very intuitive and they ask a lot of questions. And this is my description is not anywhere near where it is not anywhere near. It's no way to really explain what you go through. But what I always say is just think about when you're very constipated, because you're talking about like the physical pain, like describe the pain, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So think about being extremely constipated for hours, and the intensity grows and grows and grows, and
diarrhea, cramps,
and you can't do anything about it but go through it for hours, right? And when it finally is able to come out, you can't help but to expel. And it's a burning and a painful, and it's like 10 times, probably more than that when it comes out. But once the baby comes out, it's like a huge relief. It's just like, it really literally feels like your inside's falling inside out. I mean,
good job.
that's I don't know how else. Yeah, exactly. But the good thing about it, I always say, is how sometimes you'll be somewhere and you have like a deja vu moment where you'll smell something that reminds you of something, or you eat something and the taste is like, oh, that reminds me of something I tasted. The thing is, I thank God every day that there is no way it can remind me accurately of that pain, because if I have any reminders of what that pain actually felt like, I would have stopped at 1.
Man. Okay.
I had a little bit of a different birth experience. I had multiple miscarriages, and those were all terribly painful. But not vaginal pain per se, but my back felt like someone was just stabbing me repeatedly, and it wouldn't stop. And but when my daughter, she was in the most dangerous position you could ever be born in, supposedly. She was a complete breech, head up, spine facing the outside, and they tried to turn her, which hurt too, and she halfway through the version was like this, and then she just turned back around, got back head up, and that's kind of her personality. No matter what I say, she gonna do what she want to do. But after they try to stop her labor over and over again. But Michaela came at 34 weeks, 5 days. And I kept saying, she's big. She collapsed my lung. I had preeclampsia. I gained 30 pounds overnight of fluid. She tried to kill me, y'all.
Wow.
Okay.
And finally, she wanted out. And so they let her out, but via C-section. And so I had spinal block that didn't work. Then they did the epidural and had to go through major surgery. And what people don't tell you about C-sections is that it is major surgery. They take out most of your organs, move everything around, and they cut your uterus open and get the baby out. And you're in major surgery. And I just remember, luckily there's that adrenaline. Like Dr. B was talking about the relief. I think that's that flow of adrenaline that God blesses us with to kind of help us, deal with it.
Mhm.
But I just remember when the doctors were cutting, making their incisions, and her father saying, "Wow, look at that," and I couldn't see anything. And out comes this 8-pound, 10-ounce, 20-inch preemie.
This is a full-grown child.
You would have been, wait for it, 12 pounds, about 12 pounds, 12, 13, 12 pounds.
Lift your hands and tell God thank you that she came out at 35 weeks.
Because she was 6.5 weeks early.
The full inside of me. That's too big.
Yes.
Oh Lord. See, I had easy birth, so I was 4 hours in and out. It was
nice.
Lord.
The trauma.
That's my
mom. I couldn't breathe. I'm pregnant and I couldn't breathe. She used my lung like a pillow.
Okay. So with that being said, so do we know the experience? And I'm gonna speak on behalf of Mr. Moss. We sorry. That's not, blame it on you. That's not necessarily our problem. You should have left the fruit alone with this. No, but anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Wow.
So with this being, we're going a little further.
Look, he should have said no. He should have told her to come on get
Here you go. Here you go. See, Mr. Moss is why we can't do that. But no, so to take this further, this is what I do want to get in. So when you see the picture, and if you see it, I actually put it up there now. Now, my thing is this. So when you see this, the reason why I said the other orientation that I got out of it is that now I'm thinking, so she looks like she's in pain, right? So do we inflict, Mr. Moss, on answer this? So, and I'm trying to put this so it doesn't sound weird. So when you see the picture, in my mind, the first thing I think about is if she's going through this pain, is she actually projecting that pain on the baby that's actually coming out? Whether she's stressed, whether she's going through relationship situations, whatever the case may be, is that pain hormonally projected on that kid? And this is why I say that, and then we can go further. Because sometimes we think, well, in my retrospect, I'm thinking, well, if you're projecting that pain on that kid and they come out, they have to go through the woes of this obstacle, that obstacle, this obstacle, that obstacle, this obstacle. But it was projected from childbirth. And the man is not excused, because whatever trauma he was going through when he actually lay down with you, now he sowed that seed with you. Now that trauma and whatever he was going through is now going inside of you while you're carrying this baby. So when I look at this is where I took the actual scripture. A man is born of I just got up here. That
man is born of a few days.
Thank you. Man who was born of a woman is short of days and full of trouble. I'm reading a different version. So that's what I'm alluding to when I see this picture. So I'm gonna start with Mr. Moss. I want him to speak to that biblically and transparently.
Man, first of all, I mean, ladies, thank you for allowing us to even speak on something we haven't experienced. Okay, that's first. Secondly, the Bible says in Genesis chapter 3, verse 16, he says, to the woman, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your grief in your pregnancy, and you will have pain in your childbearing. Okay. Childbirth is something that's beautifully painful. That's probably the best way to put it, is beautifully painful. The end result is beautiful, but to get to the end results can be painful. Now, we talking about, Greg asked a question about whether something was being transferred onto the baby through the childbirthing process. I personally believe that the baby gets its experiences from when it's in the womb. And what I mean by that is when it's connected to the umbilical cord and whatever that mother is experiencing at that time, it's all going through way she's handling her emotions, way she's being treated, the things she's dealing with, the things she's listening to. But I was talking to Greg earlier, and I told him, I said, now, kid doesn't necessarily have to be a reproduction of our problems. Only time a kid becomes a reproduction of our problems is when we raise them in the same environment we did our dirt in. Mm-hmm. So if you raise your kid and everybody's still cussing, smoking, drinking, fornicating, adultery, lying, screaming, cussing them out, beating them upside the head, you're going to raise you a monster. But I've known people to have kids, and the person that had the kid was a monster in the hood, but the kid turned out to be beautiful. The kid turned out to be well-educated. It wasn't because they wasn't connected to that parent. It's because of the environment they were raised in separately. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, y'all speak to that. I don't want to overtalk. I do this for a living, so I can talk all day.
No, you're fine. You the guest, brother. You good. You can talk into that. Now, I was having a discussion earlier to go along with what you're saying with KC. So, KC, can you give them your perception of the actual matter?
Sure. I was so in our conversation, I was saying that there is a reaping and a sowing process that's biblical. And I think what people miss in that scripture, well, the words that they don't pay attention to is whatsoever in that. So whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. And I think they tend to think they're going to reap other ways, and they're not. What you sowed is what comes back to you. And this is Tiffanyology. I can't really say it's biblical. I believe it is, but still, for the sake of this, I'll just say it's Tiffanyology. I feel like some of us as parents reap through our children. Some things that we did, I feel like, we waited. Is that God has a sense of humor? It's like waited to have kids, and then boom, you start seeing things, and you're like, oh God. And it can be so sometimes the reaping is the other parent. It's like they get it from one parent. Like, I didn't do a lot of things that I feel like my kids have done, but their daddy. So like, I got to deal with that because that's what he did. But regardless, he still reaped that. We had children together. So whether it was me or him, there was still a reaping that was going to take place, regardless.
Now to speak to that, and again, I know that's Tiffanyology, and I won't knock that. You're my girl. But for those of us that are believers, okay, mm-hmm. Those that are believers in Christ Jesus, or believers in the Word of God, mm-hmm. You're either going to believe that when you repented, you were forgiven, or mm-hmm. You're going to believe you still have to pay the debt. Okay. Now the only problem with that is for all of us to say that our sins and everything was dealt with and taken care of on the cross, mm-hmm. Then why would that same God punish you for something that he's supposed to have forgotten if you were forgiven? Okay. Now, a lot of times what we think we're reaping, what we think we're receiving based off of what we did in the past is not necessarily us receiving what we did in the past through our children. It's mm-hmm. really our children not using their free will to make better decisions in their generation after we've given them the warning. See, a lot of times we've given the kids warnings and said, hey, because I've done that, you shouldn't do that. But now here's what I've been told by younger people. You're old. You don't understand. But they only repeating what we did previous to them. They're just doing it in a different fashion. And so a lot of times when you're talking about the attitude of the child or the way that the mannerism of the child, you literally got to go back and check the environment. What environment is that kid being raised in? Now, we don't even want to go and start digging into what may be happening in the house the kid is being raised in. We're not talking about these underlining things with there's possible molestation, there's possible abuse, there's possible drug addiction, there's possible and all abuse ain't physical. Some of it is mental. Some of it is verbal. So when we're talking about, when you guys are talking about childbirth in itself, when I call it beautifully painful, you guys go through a period of carrying something for 9 months or shorter, right? That you can't wait to release. And the moment you have that release, everything that you carried is now in your hands.
Mhm.
You once carried it, now you're carrying it. You end up carrying it twice. Because literally you carry a child for another 9 to 12 months after it comes out of your womb.
Mhm.
So most mothers, I can't speak for all mothers. Most mothers are rubbing their babies and they're trying to sing to them and talk to them and different things of that nature in those beginning stages. We know that's not everybody's case, but it's one of those things. We as adults and we as parents got to stop looking for. We got to stop looking for our payment in our children.
Mm.
And just assume that you're gonna pay your own debt if you ain't, if you haven't given it to Christ, you're gonna pay your own debt bill.
Gotcha.
Right.
But a lot of times we look for it in our children because we see similarities to what we done. And then it ain't nothing worse than seeing a similarity in your child of the person you had the child by that you don't really like.
So you hit on something with and I'm going there. I was waiting on that moment. You hit on something, having a child with somebody you didn't like. So with this whole concept, if you just tuned in, we're talking about childbirth, the glory and the pain. With using this picture, if you can see it on Zoom, as a let's just say we're using it as the guide of what we're talking about. We basically looked at this and we're trying to gather in our own perspectives that if hormonally we're passing our backgrounds through our child while the baby's being carried by the woman. But I want to go back to what you said. You said something about having a baby by somebody you don't like. So with that being said, and with the synopsis that we're using here, should that mean that we should be very picky and careful about who we have a kid with? Do we need to investigate their background? I'm talking about your mama, your grandmama, if your granddaddy was a whoremonger. I mean, 3, 4, 5 wives. They got a show now called Sister Wives. Like, it's cool to have 2 women in the house. They friends, but the dude is sleeping with the both of them.
Wow.
Got 4.
No.
Well, you know what? I think it depends on the motives when you met the person, because a lot of times when you first meet a person, you don't really meet them. You meet the ideal of them. So they'll present to you, something that you like at that moment. And the only people that are literally having babies by people they hate, and ladies, forgive me for this description, it would be people having babies by their rapist. Okay. Other than that, when you first met that potential person, you had something you liked about them. They had something you liked about yourself, and you liked about you with them. But it ain't usually till after there's potential of you having a child that you find out this is a bum.
That's exactly what I was talking to my child about earlier today. Because we were talking about, she's 17 and she's getting ready to graduate. She'll be 18 next month. And, we were just talking about, having that talk. And so I was just like, we were talking about abortion. We kind of got through this whole spiel about it. And I was like, well, I'm not going to speak on if I'm for or against or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, if you're grown enough to lay down and have fun practicing making a baby, you got to kind of deal with the consequences of after that. The only way that's 100% is not doing it. So, and we're not even talking about being raped and all that stuff. We're talking about you meet somebody and you went and laid in the bed with this person and decided to have your little 5 minutes, 20 minutes, hour joy or whatever. But it was fine then, but why isn't it an issue? And speaking of on that bum part, there was a young man that I overheard having a conversation about how his baby mama is a bum because she's on Section 8 and she driving a bum car. But I'm thinking like,
why she got to get all that?
How is she a bum if she has a house provided for your child that you're not providing?
Come on.
She's not a bum driving a car, getting your child to the doctor's appointments and all the things that she needs to do. But you're here probably driving your mom's car and living with your mom. But you want to call her a bum.
So in reality, he was the bum.
Right.
because she was having to depend on another system to provide for the child that he helped procreate. Okay. And that's the thing, like what Greg's talking about, like, you know, what are the kids getting from us that's causing us to look at it and go, okay, this is tough. Are we choosing the right person to build a family with? Well, now I can't speak for everybody, but from my observation, people are not trying to build families anymore. They're just trying to have fun. And with that being the case, now you have one guy that's responsible for multiple families that he's not caring for.
Right. And, you know, in my case, you know, I did have a baby prior to being married, but I also had 2 babies in my marriage thinking, you know, that would be forever. And the thing about it is, ultimately, the woman has, in my opinion, the woman has a responsibility of understanding that if I lay down with this person, I'm possibly going to be building a family, because the man can't do it by himself. A woman can't do it by herself, but she carries the child. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's for me, if I go and, you know, lay down with a guy, I'm taking on a responsibility of possibly having a child, regardless of any birth control, because nothing is 100% other than not doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's one thing I explained to my child, that, you know, it's a responsibility. It's a risk that you take.
But see, what you did is you from what you're telling us, you explained it to your child because of your experience. So you actually given her an opportunity, or him an opportunity, to go into the situation knowing this could be the consequence. That's a big difference versus somebody who just feels like, you know, that's like somebody feeling like I have to give them this for them to stay with me.
Yeah.
Right.
And a child end up being produced.
I would say
Lucky Roy. Oh, good. I'm glad you're talking. I'll just finish you up.
I was gonna actually say, I remember being told, if you lay down as a kid and you get up as a woman, be a woman and walk that path.
Wow.
That's what I grew up, and I'm a Catholic on top of that. So I have my own personal beliefs and feelings, and as a former educator for almost 20 years, I have seen so many kids pregnant. The youngest person I've seen pregnant is 12.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I'm talking, I was in elementary school trying to tell a mom, hey, your little girl's pregnant. But in my own situation, I was married. My daughter came toward the end of my marriage. And it was like, okay, this is a family. I want a family. I have, you know, again, I'm Catholic. This is what we do. We have 12, 13, 14 kids because we don't believe in all that birth control stuff, right? So I have this baby, you know, and he decides, you know, we decide we're not going to be together, but he also decided, I don't like you, so I don't want to be around her. So
okay.
Yeah, he actually told me, he said, I don't like you so much, I don't even want to deal with my daughter. And so he put that on me, but that's his issue. And, you know, he's been in and out of my daughter's life, and to the point where my daughter is now getting her last name legally changed to my current husband's last name.
Wow.
Yeah, because my current husband has been there since my daughter was 2.5, 3. That's daddy, you know. So, you know, he's not stepdad, he stepped up. So he's dad.
Yeah, that's tight.
I like that.
So it is, a lot of it is knowing who you choose not only to sleep with, but who you choose to tie your soul with. Because biblically, we are taught that when you marry someone, you tie your soul to them. And if you tie your soul with someone's soul who is polluted, you are now also polluting your soul. And even though I untied myself from him, We are even still taught in the Catholic Church, you hold on to that pollution because it's still in you. You can't, marriage is very difficult to undo. And so that is why in your children, you see the evidence of them, because you tied your soul with someone and then conceived a person with them. So you are not, it's natural for you to see those types of things. But the thing about it is, without being mentally aware, without being, having a sound foundation in some kind of religion, discipline, or understanding, we're continuing a cycle of dysfunction. And
So
for fun, I like to watch, Paternity Court, and I laugh and it's funny. But
you said for fun?
When you, because it's like, how can you not know who your father is? I cannot conceive not knowing who the father of my child is.
Okay, but listen to this. You said something that I feel was very important a little bit ago. You said that he no longer, because he no longer wanted to be around you, he also no longer wanted to deal with your child.
Right.
Now, when you said that, I hear it differently from other people. Mm-hmm. It's a difference from producing a child and fathering a child.
Yes.
So you're saying that your husband now, your current husband, is fathering your child, yes, but your previous husband, your children, and your previous husband produced her. Okay. So I think I heard you say earlier that you also have adopted a few children, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing. They have an opportunity not to be the definition of the persons that produced them.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the environment.
Oh, yes.
Right. So even when you're choosing that person, and at the time who seemed like a good ideal, who later turns out to be a bad ideal, you still can get something beautiful out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Brie.
I was gonna add to, a lot of the things we talked about, was as far as a woman, or raising girls. And, I have a son too. And so I also talked to him about, although I feel like sometimes it becomes one-sided. Well, in the past, I know in my own experience, sometimes it's been one-sided, where it's just like the boy can go and sow his royal oats and the girl has to be a certain way. Where in my family, my house, I teach my son differently. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go all the way into details about what I talked to him about, but I definitely approach him in a different way as far as his responsibility and what he, what part he plays in it. And I just remember distinctly when I was going through it, the divorce with my first husband, with my kid's father, it was a really huge argument. And my son, I think he was like 7 or 8, he says, "Mom, I would never do that to a woman." He says, "I'm not getting married or having a baby until I am ready to sacrifice." Like, he's 8 and 9. I guess, I don't know. I guess it was something that he heard us say, but he was just like, I'm not, basically he was saying, I'm not willing to sacrifice everything I got going on at an early age. I want to do everything that I, want to do before I sacrifice for a family. That's basically what he said in his little 12-year-old or, 8-year-old language or whatever. So even now we talk about that, he's just like, yeah, I want to go overseas and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I don't want to have to worry about not being able to take care of my children and my wife or, things like that. And he said, when I'm done doing all that, then I'll get married and have babies.
So you raising him to be accountable. That's great.
What a lot of kids experience is they hear us, the adult, and we probably heard it when we were children. We heard regret. Mm-hmm. And when we heard regret, it started making us make choices that would say either I don't ever want to be married, or I'm not going to ever have kids, or if I do get married, have kids, I'm going to make sure I got enough money, because what they're doing is they're repeating the argument back to you. Mm-hmm. And they're telling you why they choosing to take a different route. I really encourage young people, look, go live your life first. Because once you produce a child, life as you know it is over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, I had a baby at 19. I I don't know nothing but being a mom.
So what you said earlier about, there's still a what I want to say, a picture of it still, there's something different between men and women. Is that still what we're presenting today? That, it's, women, because I hear this all the time of saying, when they say, well, a woman, hey, look, lady, hey, don't be out too late by 12 o'clock, da, 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 da. But what I see in these times now is that now a man can get raped at 12, 1 o'clock, being out too late at night.
Yes.
So are we still saying, or still leaning towards that, oh, well, we make a difference out of women and men? Or now are we at an even playing field?
It ain't even. I'm unfortunately when I'm just looking at like social media and all this other stuff, it's still not. It's not the same, because it's just like today I had one little girl. She posted her Instagram on the board, and some boy was just like, "Why you posting your twerk page?" And mind you, I teach 7th graders.
Oh wow!
Wow.
What?
That's about right.
Your mama don't know that's what you're doing. But then and I feel like when it comes to the boys, I've had conversations where the boys say something, my dad took me to this and he told me, and it's just like, it's still different, even with the kids now. It's like he's teaching his son to be a man whore, basically.
Oh, yeah, it'll never be even. It'll never be even. Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever be even either. I just think it's a different standard. I think women are different than men, even when it comes to sex. A man can run through 5 women. Let a woman run through 5 men and she comfortable with herself and do it. First thing he good. He the man. A woman, she'll hoe all day long. That's just how it goes. It just is what it is. I just don't think it'll ever change. Because I think from one generation it's just been passed on. The word hoe, the word tramp, all of that. It just goes one to the next, and nobody breaks it. But I agree with Mouse. I agree with Bree. It won't be different.
I think from a psychological point of view, this has been explained, at least it was explained to me like this. Men are penetrators. Women are penetrated. Just in even of that exchange, men have the balance of power because the act has to be done too. Whereas with a woman, we are receiving into ourselves someone else. And so psychologically, when you are penetrated, you are the person who is taking in. And if you've taken in too much, it doesn't matter what the penetrator does. You've taken all that in you. And that's why many women are left psychologically damaged by being, sexually promiscuous, because they've allowed, it's just the physical and psychological science of it. You've allowed someone to enter your most deepest part of your physical self repeatedly and not invest anything in you. And
a lot of people,
act of withdrawal, literally, you are withdrawing, it's taking. So sex for women has a lot of psychological overtones to it. And so that is why men are, kind of have the upper hand, because they're the ones that they do it too. We are the ones that receive it in.
And a lot of women associate sex with love. It's just like if he, you know what I mean? If he's giving it to me or whatever, we're that's love. Whereas a lot of men don't see it that way.
Well, I have a question for Ms. Roy. So I know you explained what you did explain as far as the women, but what about those men that are taken advantage of? What about those men who can have their psychological, this psychological effects on their minds regarding sex? Because I just feel like there are women out there that have minds mentally like men.
Oh, yes.
Run through you, send you on, grab the other one, send you on, grab the other one, send you on, regardless of where that mindset comes from and what happens to the men, like I said, who go through that.
Well, again, what happens to men typically when they've been misused or mistreated by a lover, someone they've had sex with, they in turn become angry and then start doing the same thing that was done to them to others. But the balance of power is always going to be with the man, because sex, traditional heterosexual sex, can actually, even gay sex, cannot happen unless the man wills it so. And that is why it is so difficult for men to be raped unless, artificial means are employed. But typically the balance of power is with men. And that's why for sex to occur, a man has to achieve an erection or something has to be done, but it has to be, the exchange starts with the man. And as long as the exchange starts with the man, the balance of power, the expectation, everything will remain with the man. And because the woman is a receiver, and I've even seen this dynamic happen in gay relationships, men who receive are actually, they get almost demoted to quote unquote a woman's level, or if you're a whore or this like that. So it's almost like it's like I said, whenever you take something in you, you're supposed to be like more than that. You're supposed to be more than that. Your vessel is supposed to be more because you take in, and it's going to always be that way. Even biblically, in the Quran, in Asian culture, in Chinese philosophy, Black, Hispanic literature, the woman is elevated. Most people don't understand why the Virgin Mary has such a high status in the Hispanic community, because this is a woman who did not take it in of herself. She only took in God. So just that whole dynamic psychologically, the balance of power will always be with the man, and a woman has to be elevated to that.
Now, with that being said, but you hear a lot of times of people saying, well, so you hear it on little shows, reality shows, man, do you know the woman got so much power? And normally they alluded to what she has between her legs. I guess in my mind, me being raised with how I was raised, the power that I've seen in the women that I've been around, what's between their legs was never a thought process. Mm-hmm. It's how my grandmama walks in a room with her head hang high and her shoulders back, and she commands the room. When my mother walks in a room, she walks in a room in a very relaxed type of business way, where you'll see her, you think that she's mad, but she's not, but she's about business. So when you say the men always have power, I guess when it comes to the relationships and then the childbearing stage, I look at it, a relationship should be a democracy, not a dictatorship. So I'm not looking for no power. I think we both have power because we both have to make decisions when it comes to this kid. Now I understand, and Mr. Marshall, you can speak to this. I understand the chain of command. God, man talks to the woman and the kids. But I've always felt as though in my house, when I'm married again, that of course that change still happens, but we still discuss what we're gonna do with this kid, because I don't know everything. And I'm not a woman. I don't know how to tell another woman how to be a woman. I've been raised around women. I can tell you what I know what it is to be a man, but I'm not gonna say I completely know all of that, because I'm still learning as we go. And if you get to a point where you're not learning anything, I don't want to be around you. Mm-hmm. You are a scary person to me.
I was going to speak to what you said about, when they talk about women powerful because of what's between their legs. That actually came, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if anybody else has heard of this at all, but that just comes from because the woman is the one that brings forth the life. And so because life comes through the woman, that's where the whole idea of power comes from. Because if we don't have the woman to carry the child, there is no continuance of humanity.
Right.
That's right.
There's a major difference between power and respect. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get the lines crossed. Mm-hmm. You can be extremely powerful, but because you know who you are, you can give a certain amount of respect to another person that makes them look powerful. And I say that because even with the dynamic of what he was saying about women having the power between their legs, and Dr. B saying that, well, it's based off the fact that we are the only ones that can reproduce life, right now. So the reality of the whole deal is, if a man with power respects the woman that he gave the birthing process to, the seed to, then she looks powerful in exchange, because a lot of times the women carry way more weight in a family dynamic than the men do. Not that the men don't carry it, but we shift the responsibility, because while we should be focused on providing, protecting, and hearing. A lot of men don't have that part. So when it comes to the provide, protect, and the hearing, a lot of times I move based off of what's been said in the house. And I got the authority to change it, to move it, to redesign it. But because I respect my wife, I'll go with what she's spoken to back her up. So when you start talking about the two differences, when you talk about the power, you got to talk about respect as well, because I think it was Miss Roy that said that the men are the givers and the women are the receivers, and even in the same sex type relationships, you can see the brokenness of the other person because they have lost something that they shouldn't have lost. And usually, this is Moss 101. Usually, it's a loss of respect. Because most of the time, after a man has gotten what he wanted, if his dynamics for life and understanding ain't right, the first thing he does to the woman after he gets what he wants is disrespect her.
Yep.
And that takes the power.
Or roll over and go to sleep. Just depends.
So, it's funny you said this. So I'm asking you, women, do you think men respect the fact of what childbirthing
No.
How do you think? Okay, so let's talk about that. How do you think we don't respect it?
Man, I think some men do. I wouldn't
until a man has a period. Let's just start from there.
No.
Until a man can endure a menstrual cycle for a week.
I say no.
Exactly. So they can't even conceive 1 week.
We don't even want to be in the house when the cycle's happening. So no.
So that's what I was going to back up what you said, Mr. Mosley. You was talking about that's where the whole thing comes, happy wife, happy life. Because I mean, like you say, you listen to your woman and shift it. But see, that you shift it and try to, you provide and you lead and you protect and all that stuff. You respect her. And that's how that works.
Okay, but let's be clear. That's after about 55 arguments, though. Let's just be real 100. Because in the beginning, most of us are raised, especially in our culture, we're just raised to be dogmatic, just to be like, I'm gonna do this, you do that, And so if you want the peace that comes with the relationship you're supposed to be in, you got to have a balance of power and respect.
And that's what I was gonna say. I was
go
like,
ahead.
He gotta be happy too. But everybody, they both gotta be happy. It can't just be the woman happy and he walking around, because then he gonna find somebody else.
that term, happy wife, happy life, probably was created by somebody who's cheating.
Yeah. I go to work, I bring home my check. You better not say nothing.
Yeah. Don't say nothing about my out of town trips, my late nights in the office, my pretending to preach out of town.
Come on,
preach out of town. I mean, talking about. I leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Mom.
If you just tuned in, man, we were talking about childbirthing, the glory and the actual pain. As you see, some women are still going through the pain process even after the birth. So this is very interesting to me.
I just hit my pregnancy weight. I'm very proud about that. My baby
ain't transparent.
We're not even talking about mine.
No, baby.
I'm on my second baby, pregnant, about to have the baby weight. That's where I'm at right now.
Lord have mercy. So let me ask y'all this. So when picking, and we're not talking about y'all, let's just talk in general terms. Do you, well, no, let me ask you three. Do you think the men that you chose to have kids with, did you use your discernment to pick them, or you use I won't get this tonight to go ahead and make that happen?
Actually, we're madly in love with the man that I married and had children with. Now we were very young too. You know, I was 20, he was 19, so that may have played a huge part in, you know, how we ended up. You know, we had a lot of maturity to do. Hindsight, you know, looking back, you know, it was a couple of things that we could have done to, you know, preserve it, but we were madly in love. Like, we were best friends. We were together. We just knew we were going to be together forever. It was when the military thing happened, when he started to feel authority and I started to feel, you know, I did demasculate. What's the word? I can't talk right. Yeah, but I did challenge him as the man a lot, and he, you know, flexed his power because he's in the military a lot. So that's where we had a lot of conflict. You know, but that came with we just weren't mature enough. We you know, we were young. So
I know the broken young version of myself wanted a family because I didn't have a family, and I was taught that's what you do. You go to college, you meet a husband, you get married, and you have family. So I did all of that. But when it came to the actual, I had already checked out of my marriage when my daughter was conceived. He actually left when she was 7 months old. So I really don't even, I know when she was conceived, but I don't remember it. And so I don't remember what my intentions were because I was full of tequila. And
I'm gonna be honest. And that comment made me not like Miss Roy for 5 minutes. But
hey, this is what we do. We very
transparent. I was married, so it's okay that I don't remember. I was being inappropriate with my husband. It's not.
It was the whole. It has nothing to do with the marriage. It had everything to do with the tequila comment. So what I'm saying is,
you know, I think like a guy.
As far as I'm concerned, I wasn't even thinking that far ahead. As far as having kids, and is he a good one to have kids with? Like, I wasn't thinking about it. It was one of those nights, to be transparent. I wanted some. So I did. And baby came. And then another baby came after marriage. But, you know, I mean, I'm just being honest. You know, I don't, if you want to be 100% true, how many women out there thought, oh, he would be a good, you know, they went through the whole cycle of thinking, will he be a good dad? Will he be this? Some of us came up pregnant because we wanted some. And that's just what it was for me. Now, on the good side of it, I think he is a good guy? Yes. Do I think there were challenges? Absolutely. But he does good. Yeah. Like, they have a great relationship. So, I mean, something came good out of it. I mean, they grown now, but, you know, whatever's whatever. But
I have a question.
No, I didn't look at him and say, hey, yeah, he's gonna be a great dad. No, I didn't do that, unfortunately. But if I had thought about all of it in a nutshell, if I had really been exercising my believer status, Tiffany would have laid down, period. Let's go back to that. I wouldn't have laid down and had sex at all. I would have waited till I got married.
Really?
If I was going to go off of what I was taught biblically, I wouldn't open my legs at all. Yeah. I would have got married and opened my legs. Not to say that I still would have picked a good person, but still, I would have at least tried to get it halfway.
So Mr. Miles, I want you to answer that question, but on the back end of yours, I want to ask you, as men, do we feel that the baby puts a strain on our relationship?
Yeah.
You answer the first question. You know, did you choose when you found your lovely wife? What's up, Miss Mouse? I love her.
She in the back room somewhere. Greg, so what's happening, babe?
So,
hey, Rhonda.
when you seen that queen, did you know, girl, we gonna have some kids?
No, bro. I wasn't searching for no kids. The reality is, and I can only speak for me. The reality is, I was a predator in my youth. I wasn't looking to have no relationship. I wasn't looking to be nobody's specific man. You keep all your babies because I like keeping my money. The whole nine, but a lot of that goes back to our culture. And I can't say this is everybody's culture, but our culture, we wasn't taught to have the hard conversations. We wasn't taught to discuss things to the point of getting clarity and understanding. So like you could meet, because when I was younger, you shopped based off of appearance. Mm-hmm. I wasn't shopping based off of how educated she was and whether she was going to make a good mom in the future. And none of that even came up. It wasn't even a thought. It was based off of the moment. So the moment, if you had on the little mini skirt and your skirt fit right and your hair was tight and and God forbid if you was easy back then, there was no questions asked. So I can't speak for everyone else, but there wasn't a whole lot of concern about the future and what could possibly be produced. And again, like Tia, I was raised in a church environment with biblical standards, but that's where a lot of the dirt was happening. And that's not to knock the church. I love the church. I love, but we got to stop acting like that stuff ain't really happening. It's happening because the conversations are not being had. And so now you end up, you end up with young women coming in there pregnant, and then everybody's trying to pray her through. Well, no, you should have been talking to her before this happened. Mm-hmm. You should have been talking to the young men about being responsible for it before it happens.
Yes.
And so I, myself personally, my wife now, and we have 4 children together and everything. One, she was pretty to me. That's what attracted me to her. 2, we were able to be cool, which means we actually had a friendship. Like we literally had a real friendship. And 3, she just kind of let me be who I was. And I think that gave me time to grow up.
Got you. Mm-hmm. Man, that's what's up. So did it, when you start having kids, well, let me ask, just from a general point of view, as men, me and you.
Okay.
Do you think when we start having kids, that puts strains on our relationship, or we use that for excuses just to leave?
I'll say for me, it sobered me up.
Okay.
Because I came out of a family dynamic where the men were there. So everybody don't have that to say. The men in my family were there, even though they wasn't 100% there and they didn't have a whole lot of conversation with us about life. They were present. So when I found out she was having my child, all of a sudden, everything that I knew that I lived by and I stood by before changed, because now I'm like, I need to be here for her and this baby.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is my mentality. I'm just, I'm just me transparent.
Oh, man, you good.
I need to be here for her and the baby, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't say I was thinking marriage at that time or nothing. I'm just thinking, because now my man and me, I don't want nobody else sliding up in my baby mama.
For sure.
So, I got to be around for that. I don't want nobody else raising my kid. I got to be around for that. And it wasn't until maturity starts setting in that I started looking at other things like, oh, I need to be able to buy some Pampers and pay some bills and act like I got some common sense. But okay, that's, like I said, all those things came after about 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95 arguments.
How many more?
45, 55, 65, 67, 70, 85, 95 arguments. You know what I mean?
So, Ms. Roy, you had a question I want to
go. My question is kind of it's a shift in the conversation. But ladies, you all of us have children. All of us do. But when I got married to my current husband, we were married in the Baptist church, Black Baptist church. He was related. His uncle married us. His stepmom was the uncle. Yeah. It was their church, and so immediately after we got married, about 6-7 months, no kid. 3, 4, 5 more months, no kid. And then people in the church started openly, well, why haven't y'all had any kids yet? Why haven't, you given this man a child? And so I was very insulted, because it's the brunt that women bear when we don't. I mean, even just look historically, women could be killed for not bearing a child to a man. Because it was our fault. It's automatically our fault. If there was a child was a girl and they wanted a boy, it's our fault. In my particular situation, it was automatically assumed that I had done something wrong, or I was not being fair. And that there was actually people who said that I saddled him with a kid that isn't even his, and I won't even give him one that is his. And that wasn't the case.
Ooh,
wow.
But that's the brunt that women bear. And even through my miscarriages, well, what's wrong? It's women, we carry so much. It's much more than even just carrying the birth. It's carrying the psychological pressure that I have to give this man a child. And if I don't, then I will be perceived as incomplete or incorrect, or something's wrong or broken. And there are so many women out there who actually have a lot of psychological issues because they can't get pregnant, because you feel less of a woman. And even when I had my C-section, I remember the night I was laying there with my daughter, there was a lady next to me. That's how long ago she was born. It was 2 people in one room. And she asked me, she said, "Oh, you had your daughter?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, I'm doing good. I'm up and around. I said, "I can't get up. I had a C-section." And the woman immediately asked me, and she wasn't the first woman to say this. She said, "Do you feel like less of a woman because you were not able to give birth naturally?" So these are the kind of things that women get questioned with. It's even so much more than just you give birth, you're the mother. You literally carry the psychological responsibility of being able to bear a child. And if you can't, you are useless or broken. That is the thought pattern. And so to me, that's greater than that. Where do you think that type of pressure comes from?
Women? Oh.
No.
Yeah, everybody's just got, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, was she asking everybody or just women?
Yeah, or anybody.
I think it's just more of a society type thing. The need to perform, just like when like somebody buys a house and they announce it, and then everybody else feels like they need to announce something as well. I think it's like an unspoken competition. Where everybody feels like there's a certain way things have to be done, have to happen. I tell you, if people would go read the Bible just a little bit, they can't read a whole lot, just a little bit, they would find out that, that same Mary you spoke about earlier, she had a child by another guy. And Joseph was the first stepfather on record.
Yes, he is.
And he took care of a kid that even got a reputation for being the carpenter's son, but he wasn't his biological. We need to get to the point of helping people understand a child is just not based on being a child of yours because of biological birth, but a child is the person you raise, the person you train, the person you nurture, the person you teach. And so even if you couldn't birth him one, you guys have all the options of adoption. In this generation, you got family members who go off on the deep end and their kids are left stranded and somebody has to take them in. So I think it's the pressure that everybody gives to have to perform or compete that makes people ask you some of the dumbest things in the world. Do you feel bad because you're not able to have a child? Or, oh, why don't y'all own a house? Or, oh, yeah, I'm praying for you to get a new car. Who told you I wanted a car note? Just.
This is kind of like when I got pregnant with my oldest one. My mom, like I said, I was 19 I was 18 when I got pregnant. I moved out the house. I was on my own. I was paying my own bills, had my own job, all that stuff. And when I got pregnant, a lot of people were asking her that question, like, how do you feel with your child being pregnant? She's like, she's an adult. I'm happy. I'm getting a grandkid. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
What do you mean?
Well, we were told that, you know, in my family, I was the first child born out of wedlock. And my grandmother was so ashamed. She was heartbroken. I was actually put up for adoption for a little while because
Wow.
in Black Catholic families, old school, we're old school. You don't do that. It's a mark of shame if you have a child out of wedlock. And one of the things that my grandmother said she was most proud of is that my child was conceived in wedlock, that I never got pregnant. And that was like a fear of mine. And it may have been why I rushed into marriage, because I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do this, because I'm not going to be that type of girl. I'm not going to be the pregnant girl with, you know, a baby daddy. That was like just, and of course, later on, you know, I've evolved because I realized, you know what, single mothers can be from marriages or from the club. It don't matter. Single mother is just,
true.
It can happen no matter what.
But you just said something that was cool though. You said shame probably rushed you into marriage.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Because I had to, you know, my grandmother always, you know, would put on me that I had to restore the honor to my family, myself, because I was a child conceived out of wedlock. And it was a very, 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 very big thing in my family to be married first and then have children. And it's that serious. It's that serious.
So, Greg, when you were saying earlier, we were talking about the, you know, the birthing process and everything, and what the kid end up having to carry or deal with based off being passed down from the parents. That was a perfect example of the shame skipped a generation. It was the mother's shame, but it was the grandmother's embarrassment that caused the granddaughter to have to go into something she wasn't ready for and not even prepared for, to try to redefine a family that was already broken.
Right.
When y'all saying that, it also makes me think about how even with that, it seems like women are supposed to always seek marriage. So you got a lot of women who feel like, I have to be married. I have to, you know, that's my goal in life, is to get married. Whereas it seems like more men, it's more of, you know, go out and do whatever it is you need to do. And basically, you know, when men get married, it's like they lose their player card, or they, you know, oh man, you trapped now. Are you know what I'm saying? Men feel like they losing a friend when somebody get married.
It's death.
So,
like,
I mean, you know, my thing is, when I got married, that was actually one of my plans. So in college, I took time to write out a 10-year plan. If I think about what I wrote, I may be on year 6.5 right now. But in the 10-year plan, I had said I would be married by 30. And I did get married by 30. It didn't, you know, it lasted 6.5 years, and we went our separate ways for various reasons. Not a bad woman at all. We were just not good for each other. I've even had a chance to speak to her since then, and we both said if the two people that are now knew each other then maybe the relationship would be totally different. But maybe, you know, maybe we was destined to go through that for both of us to learn to move on, to go our own separate directions. Because I hear this all the time. They say there's something wrong with the institution of marriage. No, sometimes it's the fruit. And what I mean by that is it's the pear. And I ain't talking about the fruit pear. I'm talking about two people. Yeah. Sometimes the two people are not the same fruit. Maybe we don't know how to be a good fruit picker, if you want to use that as an illusion or whatever. But no, when I'm married, when I was married, my thing is that was both of us to keep that alive, not just me or not just her. I'm not going to disagree with you and say some dudes think that, and or not just, I'm not going to disagree with you to say what you stated was more women tomorrow I got to be married. Probably so. But in my mentality, and maybe because I'm older now, when I turned 30, my play card was already gone. I was already in the mindset of being married. And this is my thing about dating now. Don't tell nobody you're ready to be married. I'm ready to be married. I'm ready to have a real relationship. If you still doing single stuff, you're not ready. So even in the midst of, I've had a young lady say, well, when we're together and we're married, then things have changed. No, if you're a liar now, you're gonna be a liar when we get married. If you're a fool now, you're gonna be a fool when we get married. If you're gonna be loud and embarrassing me, it ain't gonna change because we married.
Right.
To me, it's a mental state. Change your mind. When a man starts dating a woman, you need to already be carrying yourself like a husband. Show her that you can be a husband. Because women make this quote unquote statement. I want a man to lead. Well, you have to be leadable. And if I don't think you're leadable, I'm not gonna show you a man that can lead you. Because you're not gonna be in my life anyway. Period. So, the player card, that needs to be gone before you even start saying you want to have something serious, in my opinion. But with what we're talking about, so I'm always a cause effect. Let's get to the resolution. So with what we're talking about, the childbirth and the pain and how are we changing the mindset or the depiction of our own our future kids, of saying that, hey, this is not necessarily pain, not necessarily glory, but how are we letting them know that if you follow these steps, this could work out for you? Like you said earlier.
My quick answer is I don't sugarcoat nothing. I almost said a different word, but I don't sugarcoat anything with my children. We just sit down, we have conversations. And my mom, my mom, sometimes she would disagree with the conversations that we have, but I do allow my children to freely express themselves, because if they don't do that with me, they're going to go out there and do it with their friends who don't know nothing. So, we actually do have real conversations about, now they're going to tell me everything. Absolutely not. I'm not going to be that naive, but they're going to come in, we talk about sex, we talk about drugs, we talk about religion, we talk about society, politics. I mean, sometimes when I listen to these children, it's just like, man, I didn't even realize that. And they bring facts, they bring stuff on paper, because that's the nerd in me that I pass to them now. but like, seriously, like, I feel like the children, because I was raised to be seen and not heard. And so a lot of things that I learned was when I finally got out there on my own, and when I was talking about my marriage earlier, we were trying to figure out how to be adults, how to be parents, how to be away from our parents, and how to cope in the military in a whole different state. Like, it was a lot going on, that we weren't prepared for. We thought we just get married, have kids, and that was it. You know what I mean? Right. And so when when they get old enough, I've been talking to my kids about sex ever since they knew to ask me what it mean to kiss. Okay, we gonna talk about kissing, and then when they got a little bit older, we talked about this, and we talked about, as they got a little bit older. So you can't like sugarcoat anything. You got to be real with them, because they're gonna find it one way or another. And why not get it from me, somebody who actually cares about their well-being, somebody who actually loves them, is gonna be there for them as long as God allows me to be here with them. So
makes sense.
Well, and I think too, it's hard for women we don't pass down the knowledge to other young girls. I've talked to so many young girls and so many women in the course of my life who did not even know what to expect the first time they had sex, or the first time, I'll never forget one of my students. She was pregnant, and she said, "Miss, I don't know how I got pregnant. I have no idea." And, she had no idea about sperm and eggs. She didn't know, she said, "I didn't let him do this, and this, so I'm still a virgin. It doesn't this," but she didn't understand that even just being close to the fluid could get her pregnant. We don't have the conversations with these young girls to know what to expect. We don't even teach girls. There are girls I know who've gotten pregnant because the guy took the condom off and she didn't realize what he was doing, because we haven't given them the game, and I say giving them the game because I learned the game. And a lot of my thought process is more like that of a man. And so I feel like, hush. I
got your back. I got your back.
I mean, I do. I have very masculine thought patterns, but we don't give our girls the game. And so these young girls, they get caught up in situations where they don't even know They don't even know what they're about to get into. They don't even know that it might be painful. They don't even know they don't know you can get pregnant your first time. They don't know you can just because you haven't had a period yet doesn't mean you can't get pregnant. Just all these things that goes on with a woman's body that we as women haven't been bold enough to have conversation with, at least some of our generation. I know nobody ever sat me down and said, this is gonna happen. I had to learn by surprise. And and it was like, okay, thank God I had a nice guy versus an a-hole, but these are things that we don't have. We don't have conversations. And it is good that we start talking to young girls, because everyone does blame the girl when the girl gets pregnant, because the girl bears the evidence. The belly shows. A dude could walk around all day long. You don't know kids, but a girl, And so we have to be accountable as the older women generation to sit some girls down and say, hey, you know what? This is what a guy will do to you. This is what this touch feels like. This is what that touch feels like. If he's doing this, if, don't use condoms, that if he says, he's got a condom on, not necessarily, you might want to watch him put it on. We have to be that transparent with our kids, because that's why so many of them are getting pregnant, are having these kids, and we're having to take care of them. We're not responsible enough. We're not giving them the game.
When it came to especially my daughter, but I spoke with both the children, and I first attacked the emotional side of it, other than the sex, because it's like they knew more about how to do that than really handle the emotional side of what sex comes along. I tell them, hey, you can do it, and then that monkey gets on your back, and you get that feeling, and then you want to do it again, and then you want to do it again. It's a roller coaster. You're not equipped to deal with sex. I mean, it's a roller coaster from some adults, so I can imagine what it's like for teenagers. So you get involved with these young men and these young women, and your feelings get involved, and the emotional comes, and then 1 minute you feel you're in love, 1 minute you hate them. It's just a lot. So emotionally is when I attack more so than anything. Make sure that is in check. Just because you had sex don't make them your boyfriend. Just because you had sex don't make them your girlfriend. And a lot of people feel certain things make them feel like, oh, now he didn't wink at me. That's why it's very important for men and women when their children are younger to be a part of their lives.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't like the baby mama. The kids will grow up and they're gonna deal with things because you're absent.
Right.
And that's a lot of why these cycles are continuing as well, because somebody dropped the ball. Somebody missed the mark, because I speak for myself. My children's dad and myself, we did an injustice to our children until we had to sit down and say, we're sorry and apologize for what we did, because we had our own personal issues. Our children should have never felt that. That's why I tell my son and his daughter's mom, hey, I don't care how y'all feel about each other. If you want to move on, let her go on and move on. The daughter has nothing to do with it, and vice versa. And I think they do well together, but we have to attack those things first before we can send them on out into the world. But as far as sex is concerned, emotionally for me, and I'm just going to speak for me, it's what I attack first.
I would like to send a message out to all men, period. If anybody who's a male who's listening, if you think for a second that your role does not matter in a child's life, even if it's a girl or a boy, I'm telling you, I have a practice right now. I have now 16 people. I'm not even talking about kids. I'm talking about I got grown women and grown men who come in and sit on my couch crying with unresolved dad issues. If you think for a second that your absence, that just because you didn't push it out or you didn't whatever, your role doesn't matter. I can't stand how no, there are so many people who are walking around broken because the father has not been there. We're talking about adults. I have a 42-year-old person who sits on my couch once a week, cries their eyes out about the broken relationship and the way they feel broken and unwanted and abandoned and unloved because the father was not there.
Wow. Brother Moss?
Wow, man, they said a whole lot right here. I'm gonna try to tackle three things and leave it alone. One, I'm gonna start back here what Dr. Roy said. She said that the father being absent. The Bible talks about fathers provoke not your children to anger. One of the ways children are provoked to anger is the absence of a father. The father's absence provokes a lot of anger. A couple of the ladies mentioned about being not sugarcoating, basically being transparent. Transparency is very key. But in order for us to get to the place of transparency, we got to first go back and destroy all of the things that led up to where we at now in 2021. And what I mean by that is our parents were raised by people who grew up in the early 1900s, the 1940s, 1920s, 1930s. Then our parents, they grew up in the 1950s, 1960s, and the 1970s. Then we grew up in the 1980s and the 1990s and on up to now. Now we're raising children and grandchildren. If you look at our culture, and I only can speak about my culture because that's the one I grew up in. We literally are teaching ourselves from 2 generations back. And that's why we look so behind as far as everybody else is concerned, because our information is from 2 generations back. You don't talk when grown folks are talking. You get out of here. Leave my door closed. You shut up. What happens in this house stays in this house. And all those kind of connotations that we grew up on. So now we're in 2021 trying to raise kids in a generation that has a pandemic, but they don't have a place to talk. Mm-hmm. So now you have people cuddling and canoodling and babies and all kind of things is happening. So we got to change the dynamic and let them know that transparency is good, but we got to have the real conversations with them. Did I like your mom? Did I like your dad? Hey, this is how sex felt for me when it first happened. This is what I experienced. This is what you don't want to experience. Here are some different things that you need to know about it. Hey, let's go to your doctor. Let's get some understanding on how things work. Here's what diseases do to you. STDs. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the emotional, like Tiffany said. She said the emotional connections that happen. Here we are. You're as grown as you want to be, as old as you want to be, but let you run into somebody you had sex with when you was 15. There's still an emotion there. Call it what you want. Okay. When you see that person, it's either going to be a oh wow or oh wee. I'm glad I escaped that. Okay.
Oh wee, honey. Oh wee.
So oh wee.
So no.
When we talk about everything we're talking about, we got to go back and catch the generation up. And that's why we're so behind in everything when it comes to the economy of the world and everything else. Is because we're still functioning from 2 generations back. Because your mama taught you what her mama taught her, and then you had a daughter or son and said the same thing to them. And now we're trying to balance it out because why? Nobody knows who to talk to.
Right.
And then and a lot of our culture, they left it up to the preachers and the church to raise their children. One of the biggest things I say in our ministry is we don't have like no separate youth department or none of that nonsense. And they say, well, Pastor, we don't have enough for the kids. I said, the parents is for the kids. Them your kids. I said, now we do something as a ministry. We'll go out, have fun, go to the park, have barbecues, play games, all that. That's what at the end of the day, that's your kid. Because the problem you can have, you drop your children off at the church and you let somebody else raise them. Yes. Now you're raising my kid in your house because they acting like me. And you dropped them off.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my experience as a teacher. And I get that. I don't know what to do with them. Well, ma'am, I don't know what to do. I can't come to your house and make you do it. They don't do me like that. And that's a shame they don't do me like that. But they do you like that? I don't understand.
So that a lot of teachers end up being the parents over the years.
Oh, Lord.
Because you're not only teaching them the educational system, you're teaching young ladies how to do personal hygiene. You're teaching them how to deal with things. You're teaching young men, hey boy, you need to get you some deodorant now. Yes. And then watch this. Yes. I know teachers who knew that, ain't no sense in me sending a note home. Let me go on down here and get some deodorant, bring him in there, take him in the back room, show him how to use this. And watch this. Now that same little musty boy that you trained last year, you see him in 4 years, he gonna be the high school honey. Yep. But it was the teacher's training that changed his life. And that's why I said we got to catch our generations up, because instead of the parents coming and cussing the teachers and stuff out for giving their kids some information they needed, they should be coming in saying thank you because I didn't know myself.
You about to make me shout over here. That's
the truth. Because see, guess what? I wear tennis shoes every day. I cuss back. No, I was playing. But but I did actually I posted it in our group. I had a parent who gave me, a really nice teacher appreciation, because she was like, I know my child. I know you deal with him, and you're the only one that tries to deal with him outside of the house. And she's one of those is like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, I even give him things that he takes home and be a better person at home. And I guess that's why I quit every year and I go back every year, because it's that part that draws me back into it.
I mean, in my career, I did 20 years, and I think my Facebook page has almost over 1,000 friends, but 75% of that are kids that I was their teacher. I am a grand teacher. I've been to baptisms, quinceañeras, weddings, and many of these girls, especially the girls that, there's about 22 girls that I remember. It's distinctly because I was there and telling their mothers, your daughter's pregnant. But their daughter only felt comfortable enough coming to me,
that's so
a stranger.
You wasn't a stranger. You was the update version of a parent. You were a listener.
Yes.
A lot of times we're yelling, we're screaming, we're demanding, but we're not listening. Sometimes they're trying to come and tell you something.
Yes. And then even the teachers are trying to tell you, talk to these kids, because a lot of the dysfunction that we see now is because we have kids trying to have kids, and they're raising kids. And so you're right, with this broken information, we're allowing the wrong people to have the wrong conversations with our children. And, our white brothers and sisters have benefited many years from counseling, because they never have the statement that what goes on in our house stays in our house.
Nope.
Ever have the concept of don't you tell nobody your business, you better, but they, in one hand, our parents and our grandparents will tell us don't talk about this, and in the other hand, I'm not going to tell you this.
Yeah, 2 generations back. That's what I said. Our information is so outdated that other cultures don't have any respect for us, because they're like, you guys came over here in tragedy, but you didn't do nothing with the time you had. Because you're 2 generations back, you're still fighting over the simplicity of who you are. When in reality, we could have our own economy, we could have our own system of government and everything else, but we got to start with the home by sitting down and telling our kids, hey, you know what? You don't need to go out there and spend money and do that. And we send our kids to work too early.
Wow.
We need to stop telling our daughters too, you don't need that.
Right.
If I hear it all the time, and it irks me, because yes, you do. Yes, you do. You need them because you laid down and made them. You didn't make the kid by yourself. He needs that boy, man, whatever he is, he needs to be there. Stop telling these girls you don't need that N-word.
Well, when you got generation after generation of unhealthy relationships,
yes,
and people telling you what's not good for you because it wasn't good for them, like Greg asked us earlier, what are we going to do to change the dynamic? We're gonna not sugarcoat it. We're gonna be transparent. We're gonna talk about the emotional structures of it, and we gotta go and bring this stuff up to date in our generation, so that our children can be healthy, not only emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, but then, because here's the thing, we can't even touch the finances until we deal with those three things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, look, I don't know about y'all, but this has been very, good for me. Gives me a lot of thought process. I love our conversations. And like when someone said earlier that people have grown up not even doing what we're doing right now. To me, that just scares me. I continue to tell my mother, I feel like my cousins and I are so far ahead of the game. Because what we're doing right here on Zoom, I was doing this at age 10, 12. We still have the same mentality of a kid is not to be heard, but at a certain age, or let me say, in my mother's and father's house, the conversation was we can have conversation, long as you're respectful about it. So I was able to talk about many things. So it scares me that people are not having this conversation. And the other part that even Mr. Moss said was you're not even having this conversation in the church. But you're supposed to be teaching what you're teaching in that what we're talking about is in that in what we call the Holy Bible. So,
so not meaning to cut you out, Greg. I'm sorry about that. Mom said that I had this thought. So you're not teaching about sex, you're not talking about it, but you'll ridicule them when they come pregnant.
Yep.
Such an oxymoron. You won't teach me, but you'll talk about it.
That's crazy.
Real fast. Had some young ladies in our ministry, love them dearly. They came somewhere I was, and they had all of them had on some little bitty shorts, and it wasn't even really hot. And so instead of acting like I didn't see it, I said, "Hey, ladies, why do y'all got on those shorts?" They said, "Pastor, it's hot out here." I said, "It ain't that hot to disrespect yourself." And I explained to them, what you present to a man is what he'll come after. And I said, in the Bible, there's a such thing as modest apparel. And even if most of our culture are women, y'all figures can be seen without skimpy clothes. So cover up properly and let a man respect you first before he touches you. Because if you present the touch before you present the need to be respected, he's going to give you the latter.
Yeah. I'm gonna go further with what you said. I know him to say, let a brother earn you first.
Come on, man.
Earn you. Let me earn those all those blessings that all you sisters have. And I'm on behalf of all the men. We thank you. We praise God first. We thank you. Man, we're gonna wrap it up, man. This has been very good for me. Hope it's been good for you. I hope it helps you have a conversation even with your daughter, your son, even another adult. If you are in a church ministry, have the conversation. Or better yet, invite us and we'll have the conversation with you. The full 180 Convo. As you see, we put it up there. The flyer is official, baby.
And I'm sitting here tripping like,
19th.
I said, why it look like Tiffany got on the jacket? I was sitting here tripping. I was like, what happened?
Oh yeah, that dude like it got a blend a little bit, don't it? That's how she wanted to wear that jacket anyway. She wanted to wear the jacket. It's all good. I'm joking. But yes, we hope this triggers a conversation wherever you are. And if you are in a home where you're not able to speak freely, start the conversation. Wake your daughter up right now. Be like, hey, let's talk. You ain't got to cook nothing. We ain't got to go out to eat. We ain't got to go to the nail shop. Let's just have a conversation. But you know how we do? We also always have the last word. And before we do any of that, I have to thank my brother, Mr. Anthony Moss. When I tell you, man, when I got a chance to come to KC and just sit down and talk to him and his queen, boy, when I tell you, and then we start bouncing ideas off each other. I mean, I love this brother mine. It was intriguing. So I am excited to make this live show happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having the live show at the Believers Lounge in KC in July. I'm definitely excited about that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Moss will be here doing the June 19th show. If he's here and if he is okay, you're more than welcome to bless the stage, brother, while we having our conversation. But let me shut up and let you have your last word.
Man, listen, there's not a whole lot left to be said at this moment. I think everybody said, well, ladies, thank you for sharing your story, how childbirth affected you personally, because that's important. Man, Greg, this full 180 is bigger than you, bro. It's bigger than you, bigger than me, bigger than us, because it's a platform where people get a chance to hear it from different versions. Because here's the thing, you don't know nobody's story until they tell it to you.
Indeed.
Sir.
So thank you guys so much for having me. My wife and I can't wait to get down to Dallas. Listen, I need all of Dallas, Denton, Fort Worth, wherever city you're sleeping in. Come on out because we coming to have a great time. And I'll preach when I come back home. I'm coming down there to have some fun.
Well, come on, brother. I told you when you get here, we're gonna turn some corners.
Listen. Hey, listen, and I seen y'all having a car show. I'm an old school fanatic. You hear me?
64 Impala. 64 Impala.
It's gonna be cool, brother. It's gonna be real cool.
Hey, the guy can go and show out, and I can drive one back home. Come on, Jesus.
Look at her. Look at her. Come on. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Because you know you will go get you a car.
Yes, sir.
Lucky Roy, come on, give us that last word, baby.
Man, this was wonderful, wonderful. Really, thank you, Brother Moss, Pastor Deacon Dr. Doug Moss. I appreciate it because it is you backed up teachers and my current profession, counseling, and we as people, my whole push in life, and I think the whole reason why God put me on this earth is to push the message that we need to start having conversations of healing. We need therapy. We need to be honest, and we need to be open. We need to start using the resources that Western world that we live in has provided for us.
Yeah.
If you still living in 2021, telling your kids who are in dysfunction, don't tell nobody what happens inside this house, you got a problem.
Yeah.
That's it.
Dr. B.
Man, so much. We got a little bit of time left. But I would say two things. Me personally, I always say date your children. Just sit down, like you say, have a conversation. I take my children out as often as I can through my busy, even if it's just taking a car ride to the grocery store. We're talking. We turning all devices off. We turn the radio down, and we're talking. We're walking in the park and we're talking, just having conversations, and just it's necessary. And you know, you just got to be real. There's so many ways for them to be exposed to so many different things. So, you know, go ahead and, you know, get it out there first. My second thing I would say, a lot of times people don't even know they need therapy until they go get therapy. So yeah. Myself, my children, we've all been to therapy. Now, have we been consistent with staying with it? Honestly, no, because if the thing is that if it's not completely necessary, sometimes I know I haven't gone myself when I felt like it wasn't necessary for me to go. However, I don't think that's the good route. I think that I think you should do it, even if it's periodically. Everybody needs an outlet, and everybody needs some type of professional, a professional eye on things to kind of help you reveal things to yourself that you might not have known, you know. And so those are my two words. Yeah, we just got to keep building our people. We just got to keep uniting together and stop being in competition constantly with each other.
KC.
I just want to tell everybody, thank you, Mouse. You know, you my brother. And down, my brother. I appreciate you getting a call. Tell my sister I said hello. And anybody knows me, I've said it 100 times before. That is two words I don't use lightly, is bro and sis, and they are definitely that. To the crew, thank you guys. And thank you all for who tuned in. You know, Frankie, Kiki, and Twan were definitely tuned in. I've been getting messages from them. But thank you all for tuning in again, Mouse, and everybody. Thank you so much.
Well, yep, that does it for us, man. Once again, always thank you, Mr. Mouse. And I want you to give your credentials before we get out here, and I end it up. So, if you in Kansas City, or should I say Kansas City? I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there right before I get there. If you're in Kansas City, please do us a favor and please go check out our brother at his church, and I'm gonna let him give you the credentials, the address, and tell you how you can join or you can come by or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, our ministry is called Apple of His Eye Ministry. We're in the building that we call the Believers Lounge. It's at 9806 East 36th Street. Normally on Sunday mornings, we start around 10 a.m., but I'd advise you not to come this Sunday because the whole church is on vacation. If you didn't know, I know y'all ain't heard of that because tradition be killing y'all, but we chilling. We'll see y'all the week after on the 28th. But again, that's 9806 East 36th Street, Independence, Missouri. It's called the Believers Lounge. It's the building that we're in, and the ministry is called Apple of His Eye. We usually start around 10 a.m. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the guests, of course, my brother C Murder's on vacation. He's doing what he do best. C Murder. He's in Kansas City right now anyway. What's up, big boy? Holla at me tomorrow. Other than that, I live by two mantras, man. Faith and fear cannot dwell in the same place. And while you're on this side, always remember to love, live, laugh. June 19th, it's official, like a referee with a whistle. The Juneteenth live full 180 Convo show is going down. Hey, ladies, will be in the building. Shout out to all my ladies that were on. Hello, Miss Hawkins. Hello, Frankie. Hello, Kiki, Twan. Who else? Miss Mouse, Queen Mouse. All the people who joined us on the chat and joined us on the show, man. If you didn't get in, always remember, man, go to our page, like our page, the Full 180 Convo, Instagram, Full 180 YouTube, Full 180 Facebook. Like the page, be at the show June 19th because we want you to be part of the show. Trust me, we're going to get into the audience. You're going to talk to us. If not, we're going to make you talk to us. And since I got KC and these three ladies here, don't get it twisted. They very angelic, but they will lullaby you. I know that for a fact. Before we get out of here, we got to say, because it is about to happen, the Gemini Day, the holiday, happy birthday to our very own First Lady, KC Estelle. Oh, Lord. Just know Friday, she's not going to be available for nobody. So,
yes.
But no, with all seriousness, KC, wants you to understand, we love you to life. We wish you the best birthday. You have been a blessing upon us. I can say me, your conversation I've always enjoyed, your willingness to always help you to see the greatness in you. Because sometimes YouTube is looking at greatness of everybody else. So see the greatness in you because he's showing you through this. Hey, ladies, and the ladies that you're meeting along with Dr. B, License Roy, Frankie, Kiki, those ladies, everybody you're coming in contact to, you are a blessing to. But understand that's because you are already great. So be great. And like you tell us every day, be great on purpose every day. We are out of here, man. We will see y'all on Monday. Right. We'll be back in the radio station. More Music, More Radio, man. We'll be streaming live, not only from our own sites, but now you can actually watch us on the website of More Music, More Radio. There'll be a link there. Click the podcast and you can see us live. Other than that, man, we are out of here. Y'all have a good night. I know I'll get phone calls later. Man, why y'all running so late? All right, we had information to give. Y'all have a good one, man. Have a good rest of the week. We'll see you June 19th. All right.
Bye, guys.